down to the NBA playoffs. Well. I kind of brought out the hammer today. What about my assertion?
Surprise.
What about my assertion that there have always been, there are certain players, I've said this in the NFL, the NFL playoffs are not built for deep threat wide receivers. Because by the time you get to January, the weather's windy and cold. So quarterbacks, by the way, don't want to throw the ball downfield. The NFL is built for possession receivers, running games, efficiency. So throw the ball over the top quarterback is great September, October, November. Similarly, Westbrook is not built for the playoffs. He's not real adaptable. He can be tough to coach. He tends to be volatile. What you're looking for in the playoffs is adaptability, coachability. In crisis, the volatility shrinks. It's not that he's not a great player, but the playoffs don't feel like they're designed for his rigidity.
Well, it's more so just that, obviously in the playoffs is where you win championships. I don't think you're going to win a championship with him as your lead guy.
Yeah.
And if you look at him as the lead guy in the regular season, you only win to a certain degree.
Right.
You might win 50 games.
Right.
You know, you're not going to 60. You're not going to be this amazing team, period, with him as your leader. Now, that's with him and Kevin Durant, they obviously were a great team and close to winning a championship. What I've said about Russell, like the question people have asked is are these playoffs ruining or changing his legacy? My answer is no, because his legacy's not going to be tied to winning. His legacy is going to be similar to that of Allen Iverson, of Pistol Pete Maravich, Dominique Wilkins, this great individual phenom who did what no one else could do. But he's not going to lead you to a title. Yeah. The one thing that would hurt his legacy, in my view, and he's still a Hall of Famer and all that, but was if other players began averaging triple-doubles for a season. Like if it became something that like Ben Simmons does it, LeBron does it next year, maybe James Harden does it if it became a thing and then it would be like, oh, it wasn't that unique what he did. Where this is hurting Russell Westbrook, this series is in his current status within the league. Like now, Damian Lillard is a better basketball player than Russell Westbrook.
No question.
Westbrook is a more athletic player. He's more explosive. He's more of a spectacle. Lillard is who you'd rather have on your team. So Lillard, Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, James Harden now are ahead of Westbrook at the point guard.
Yes.
When we talk about top 5 players in the world, and the 3, 4, 5, it always kind of varies. Westbrook's no longer in that conversation.
Thank you.
2 months ago, you would have been like, and Westbrook might be in there. He averages triple-double. He's in there. No, he's not anymore. So it's hurting him with his current status, not so much with his legacy.
I mean, listen, they're tied to him for 4 years. I always feel, as a parent, you're a parent, you can be hard on your kids and lighten up. But if you become an enabling ice cream for breakfast parent and then try to be tough later, your kids don't buy it. I think Oklahoma City has enabled him to the point of no return.
I would agree, and I compared him to Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson never had a lot of playoff success except for the 1 year, 2001, with who? Larry Brown, a coach that would challenge him and harness him a little bit and try to change it. Now, Larry gave a lot, too, because Iverson was Iverson, but he also, it's legendary how much they went at it. That's what you would need with Westbrook, but here's the thing. Iverson was caught by Larry Brown relatively early in his career, 5, 6 years in, something like that. It's not, Westbrook is now set in his ways, and he's had tremendous success doing what he does. And one of his great strengths, like Joy was saying in the break, he's not listening to anybody, which can be good because he's always been told you can't do this. UCLA, you weren't even that good at UCLA. Your junior year in high school, you averaged like 10, 11 points a game. You can't make it to the NBA. That's been a strength for him, but it's also a weakness because he's not going to listen. When Magic Johnson criticized him in the 2012 finals, and he said Westbrook played the worst game he's ever seen by a point guard in the NBA finals because he said he was too wild. Westbrook said, I'm not changing my game for anybody, no matter what anybody says. That's been a strength, but it's also a weakness. So, but here's, you mentioned they're stuck with him for 4 years.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade him.
Oh,
not that you can't. It's going to be difficult, number one. Here's the thing, Colin, and I know, look, if I'm Oklahoma City, What I'm going back to the drawing board, I'm saying, okay, we got to build around Russ and Paul. What we need are shooters. They can't shoot. Westbrook can draw a double team every single time down the court. If he kicks it, he's a willing passer. If he kicks it to you, you got to have guys that can knock it down. That's what I try. But I'm on the record. You're not winning the championship with him. But here's the thing. Everybody's not going to win a championship. Was the Stockton-Malone era a waste in Utah?
No, but they were built and designed to win a championship. They just happened to have to face the greatest player and the greatest team of all time. They were built. They had rebounders, scorers, ball handlers. They were built to win a championship. They were not a flawed. The architecture with Utah was not flawed. It's like Phil Mickelson. He's not flawed. He just faced Tiger for 12 years in his prime. Joe Frazier was built to be the heavyweight champ. He just happened to go up against Muhammad Ali. This team is not even close to built to be a championship team.
That's a good point. That's a good point because I was going to mention Ewing and Nash and Phoenix and Sacramento with Chris Webber and those guys. You're right. They were built where you thought they could win.
But there was a dynasty.
This team is flawed. But what about Allen Iverson in Philly?
Well,
was it the right move to get rid of him? When you have a legend, especially in Westbrook's case where he chose OKC when Durant left you.
Right.
Oklahoma City, Colin, here's the fact. They may never win a championship. Or at least for the next 30 years. Utah's never won a championship. The Indiana Pacers have never won an NBA championship. You have really good franchises, thriving NBA franchises that have never won a championship.
But those teams were always willing to build to win a title. Just because Dan Marino didn't win a title, his teams were good enough. They were built right. What Oklahoma City is doing is we're hostage. We're not going to change the architecture. You've got Paul George, a top 15 player in the league.
Well, hold on. He is a top 15 player, and he's escaping. With all the criticism of Westbrook, George has not been good either. He has not been good. And the next question stuff, unless he's had a beef with somebody, he looks like a major follower right now.
There's no question.
I mean, come on, Paul George. Be your own man. Unless there's some beef he had with somebody where he's doing it justifiably, I don't get it. But I get where you're coming from. But I also say, look, this is a business, and Westbrook is a local legend. He puts fans in the stands. And look, Colin, what do? Let's trade Westbrook and George and start all over. Well, it doesn't always work when you start all over. How long did it take Sacramento? They're still not in the playoffs. Phoenix, Orlando, got in the playoffs. Detroit went 7 years without the playoffs. We're starting over. And then they finally go to, you know what? Let's bring in Blake Griffin.
Hey, I'm not for starting over. I'd keep Steven Adams. I'd keep Paul George. I'd keep Dennis Schroeder. There are a lot of components I like. The Westbrook thing, though, I will always defend organizations that are building and constantly evolving to win titles. And they don't because they face a dynasty. They face Tiger Woods. But Oklahoma City's just being stubborn. Yep, this is what we are. This is not even, you're not trying to get better. You're just trying to sell tickets. And okay, we got a lot of stuff here.
You make some sense. It's interesting, but I
wouldn't
trade him. I still wouldn't trade him.
Occasionally I throw a strike. Welcome back. Clippers playing their butts off, but Golden State's just better. Kevin Durant was unbelievable yesterday. So I felt for years and years, Chris Broussard joining me, that LeBron was the best player in the world. Durant was not really challenging him, but he was the second best player in the world. And I think this is what happens over time. I think Durant's got a little less miles on his legs. I think LeBron, after 7-8 straight finals trips, is just a lot of,
no question.
You just wear the thread on the tires. And I do believe this is the first year in the last decade where I felt that Durant surpassed LeBron. He's a better defender than LeBron. He's healthier than LeBron. So he's more dependable physically. I think he's the best shot maker in the world. Now, I think he's been that for the last several years.
Right.
I watched him yesterday, and I'm like, listen, the bench scoring by the Clippers, the coaching, Clippers did so much right. Steph didn't play well. And Durant's just like, I'm just going to make shots when I have to make shots. I don't think there's a player in the world who is harder to defend than Kevin Durant in the entire world. And I think he's separated from everybody. I think he's better than LeBron now.
I've always said he's unguardable. And he's like, when he was in Oklahoma City, I used to say he's a 7-foot version, or really I'd say Steph Curry is a 6'3" version of Kevin Durant. Like, they're both unstoppable. They shoot terrifically. They can take you off the dribble. They can finish. They got mid-range play. They finish at the rim. The difference is Durant's 7 feet tall, so you can't stop him. Is he better than LeBron? Here's the thing, Colin, and I don't take anything away from Kevin Durant, but even when people bring up the finals where he made the shots in LeBron's face at the end of games, do you know how much easier it is when you've got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson also on the floor? Like, it just opens things up so much for him. So LeBron's playing out there with these young boys and doing everything, and KD has this perfect system with these great players around him. So it's tough at this point. I'm leaving it all open during these playoffs to who's the best player in the world. I can't say it's LeBron. They didn't even make the playoffs.
1 minute left. Who would you take to have the ball?
KD.
Okay, 1 minute left. The other team's got a hot shooter. Who would you rather put on him?
Oh, that's a good one. For a minute? I mean, I think LeBron can go hard for a minute. A minute, I might go LeBron.
I have been the ultimate LeBron guy. I mean, outside of Nick Wright, I'm probably second in the country. But I do.
Well, Shannon Sharp, of course.
I mean, but I think there are just times. I'm not. I said
you're not out of bounds.
No,
at this point,
I think LeBron's the second best player in the world. I'm not saying he's ninth.
I'm not throwing, and I might be premature. I'm not saying it can't be Giannis.
I can't shoot.
What? I get he can't shoot, but can you stop him?
Well, you can if you double him low.
But he can pass. Let's see what he leads Milwaukee to.
All right.
He hasn't yet won a playoff series. Let's see. And what about the beard? I'm just saying, if the beard leads Houston past Golden State, you can't tell me it might not be James Harden. And that is Kevin Durant.
Best player in the league?
Does he have as much around him as Harden, as Durant does?
No, I like Harden. I'm on.
If Harden leads with Chris Paul, not quite what he used to be.
By the way, there was a long stretch here where Westbrook was better than Harden, then they were close. Can we all acknowledge Westbrook and Harden, there is a massive separation now.
Told you when they were teammates there last year, I polled about 70 people around the league informally. Yeah. The majority said trade Westbrook, not Harden.
Now it's not.
Harden's better.
Now it would be 30.
He is in a better system. He's in a perfect system for him. I mean, Mike D'Antoni's system.
Harden does deserve a lot of credit.
He's unbelievable.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.